fun, a little excitement, a little romance.
Tales from the Crypt was a horror story anthology series that ran from 1989 to 1996. The stories were based on the gruesome EC comic books of the 1950s presented by the legendary Crypt Keeper. Welcome back to The Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me. So I just recently picked up the entire Tales from the Crypt series, and after having just finished season 1, I decided I wanted to bring a new series of videos to you guys by going through the show season by season and ranking every episode in each of its 7 seasons. And today we are obviously kicking things off with season 1, and this is going to be a bit of a shorter video as there are only 6 episodes here in the show's first season, but I wanted to give you my ranking of these 6 episodes. I am going to keep this spoiler free, so if you've never seen these, you do not have to fear, as I'm not going to spoil anything for you. So without further ado, here we go. So kicking things off at number 6 is the episode titled Dig That Cat, He's Real Gone. And this is one that I didn't dislike any of the episodes, but this one was just okay for me. This one stars Joe Pantoliano, and he plays a bum who takes on a cat's supernatural ability to have 9 lives. And so he gains this ability to resurrect himself from the dead. And of course, he uses this for his own personal gain. And he does this by going to work for a circus where he sells these tickets and puts on these performances where he kills himself in very, theatrical and over-the-top ways. And of course, people want to pay big money to see that, and he is able to bring himself back from the dead. And the main reason why this one was just okay for me was because of the tone. And this one kind of has a very sort of silly, goofy sort of tone. It really kind of fits in with the whole, circus-like theatrical type, theme that's going on in the episode. And I just didn't jive with it super well. It is darkly humorous, like a lot of these episodes are, but like I said, I just didn't jive with it all that well. Pantoliano's performance is fine. He does a pretty good job. He's kind of this pretty despicable type of character, so there's not really much to root for here, only you're kind of rooting that, karma will take effect and he's going to kind of get his comeuppance and what you think he deserves. I also didn't particularly like that the film, it told itself largely in flashback, and so you kind of know ultimately where the episode is going, and then I found the ending to be fairly predictable, and so this one was just okay for me overall. Next up at number 5 is the episode Only Sin Deep. This one stars Leah Thompson, and she plays a hooker who is desiring to get out of that lifestyle, and she wants to be rich and wealthy, and she ends up making a deal with this pawnbroker, and she learns a very important lesson about beauty and how it really is only skin deep. This was another one that was just okay for me. I wasn't a huge fan of Thompson's performance, and the main reason is because she does this Brooklyn type of accent that it just doesn't work very well and is not very convincing at all, knowing what her real voice sounds like and then hearing her do this very kind of exaggerated Brooklyn accent. It just didn't really work for me. And overall, the story here is fine. It is fairly predictable. We've seen stories like this, even going all the way back to, some of the old Twilight Zone episodes, The Eye of the Beholder, if you know that episode, and just how people have this very surface level idea of beauty and the ridiculous odds or things we are willing to give up to maintain just that surface level type thing. So, we've seen stories like this. It's not really breaking any new ground, and it ultimately ends in a very, I thought, pretty predictable place. So overall, it was okay. It's got, kind of some decent moments in it, but it was another kind of middle of the road episode for me. Next up at number 4 is the episode Lover Come Hack to Me. This one was directed by Tom Holland of Child's Play fame and stars Amanda Plummer, and she plays a newly married bride who is willing to go to great lengths to make sure that her honeymoon is a perfect night. And this one had a pretty intriguing setup to it, to where It got roughly about halfway into the episode before I kind of even had a guess as to kind of where it was going. And so there's kind of some ambiguity there to kind of figure out, okay, where exactly are they taking this and what type of story is this going to be, which I appreciated. You find out very early on that she's this extremely wealthy woman, and there is some suspicion that her husband only married her for her money. And they are driving to take their honeymoon, and their car breaks down on this dark, stormy night, and they happen upon this like abandoned mansion. And they end up having to spend their honeymoon night in this abandoned, kind of busted down mansion. And this one turns into this sort of, who's going to have the last laugh, who's ultimately playing who, and kind of who is gonna have the final sort of upper hand sort of thing. And so I appreciated that aspect to it. I think the highlight here is the performance by Plummer. She's pretty good. She just does a solid and an effective job with the character that she is portraying. And it's a bit more of a subtle performance for the most part, as you're again trying to kind of figure her out and sort of what her angle is on the whole thing. And I don't want to give too much away or anything, but she does a good job with this kind of a little bit odd, sort of weird type of character. And so I thought her performance was pretty good. So this was a pretty good one for me. It didn't blow me away by any means, but it's pretty good. Next up at number 3 is the episode Collection Completed. This one was directed by Mary Lambert and stars M. Emmett Walsh. He plays a husband who has been forced into mandatory retirement, and so is now having to spend the rest of his time at home with his wife. Only he can't relax though, because his wife's friends are driving him absolutely crazy. And it turns out his wife's friends are these dozens and dozens of pets that she has around the house. And this is just kind of a weird one in regards to its tone and then ultimately where the story ends up in the end. But I kind of liked this one. It's just kind of bizarre and weird. This is one that is the most comedic of all 6 episodes, at least in my opinion. It is certainly the most darkly humorous of all of them. There's not much horror here. It's kind of twisted, dark humor that I guess there's a little bit of horror by the end of it, but it is kind of more of that sick, twisted, demented kind of humor. And I just liked it because it was just a little bit different. Walsh's performance is pretty good here. It's entertaining. It's kind of amusing just seeing his reaction to it all, because his wife is so obsessed with all the pets that she has around the house. She considers them like her own children, and he kind of gets neglected and almost treated like just another pet himself. And so kind of watching him respond and react to it all, I found to be, pretty humorous and entertaining, and just kind of watching their whole relationship, dynamic in their marriage. It was entertaining. I just enjoyed it. And then ultimately how the story ends, it's just kind of a nice, the final image is just kind of a nice picture of, horror mixed with just some nice, dark, twisted humor that I thought worked pretty well. So I like this one, and that's why it is my number 3. Coming in at number 2 is the episode The Man Who Was Death. This was directed by Walter Hill and stars William Sadler. And this is just a really kind of interesting and intriguing setup that I thought worked quite well. This one looks at what happens when you make the executioner, the one carrying out the death penalty in the prison systems, what happens when that guy is actually a sociopath? What ends up happening is the death penalty gets abolished, only William Sadler decides to take matters into his own hands and continue his job through freelancing. And so it's just kind of this interesting look at this, guy who enjoys pulling the lever and electrocuting all these prisoners. And now he's not able to do so. So he has to figure out some way to kind of, scratch that itch, if you will. And this is it's kind of an interesting character study done in, like 25 minutes. I like what they do here, and that they have Sadler break the fourth wall and address the audience directly. And a lot of it is filled with just kind of his monologues and him just kind of spouting off his life philosophy and his thoughts. And so this one is more of a character-focused episode. I like Sadler's performance here. And it's just kind of this interesting look into this guy in this very unique sort of position and situation, and just kind of hearing some of his life philosophy. He's just this very despicable guy, but Sadler just really sells it. And it kind of, gives a little bit more character depth than what you would typically get kind of like in a half-hour TV episode. And so I just like kind of the character study aspect of it. I thought Sadler just crushed the performance and just really sold it. And yeah, this one too, the ending is a little bit predictable, but I just really liked Sadler's performance and kind of the setup here, and ultimately, kind of where the story took us to where it ultimately led. But coming in at number 1, my favorite episode of season 1 is the episode And All Through the House. This was directed by Robert Zemeckis and was actually shot by Dean Cundey. And this one is pretty great, and I really enjoyed it. This one is a Christmas horror short film, basically. This one is about a greedy woman who makes the mistake of murdering her husband while an escaped mental patient dressed in a Santa Claus outfit is on the loose. And this is just a great setup. This is a, 30-minute Santa Christmas slasher film, and it's just a whole lot of fun. It looks great. Cundey and Zemeckis do a great job just capturing the Christmas feel, the Christmas spirit in a horrific and darkly humorous way. This one too, they make good of really just one single location, as it all takes place inside or directly outside of this main house that they're in. And this one just has a great balance of horror and humor, and it mixes both of those really well. As there's a scene where the wife is dragging her husband's body through the house and Joy to the World's playing in the background, which I just got a kick out of. It made me smile. I really like that little scene. And then it's just got some nice, slasher horror violence to it as well. And the look of the Santa Claus guy is seriously creepy and very unsettling. The guy's gross looking, but just great job there. Very memorable villain. And I also like the setup too, that it starts out with her killing her husband. And so when she gets attacked by, the Santa slasher, she can't really call the police because she's got another dead body there that she's responsible for. And so it adds just a nice little twist and kind of wrench to the story and the setup here that I thought worked pretty well. So yeah, this is a fun one. I mean, it's a Christmas slasher in 30 minutes, and it just packs a whole lot into a short runtime, and I really enjoyed it, and that's why it's my favorite episode of season 1. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I greatly appreciate it. Very excited to continue this series and looking forward to bringing you more episodes over the coming weeks and months. Probably, I would imagine this will take me a little while to get through, but I'm excited. So hit me up down below like always. Let me know some of your favorite episodes. This is actually the first time I'm going through watching this show, and so it's kind of my first introduction to it. So maybe let me know some of your favorite episodes down below so I can know, I don't know which ones to look forward to or whatever. But anyways, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. If you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.